Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Orion Duel for Matago. Orion Duel is a two-player abstract game which players are going head-to-head attempting to achieve one of three possible victory conditions before their opponent does. In the game, you're going to be over here on this galactic map over here. It's also worth noting, by the way, this is the deluxe version of the game. There's a retail and deluxe version, affects box size, some things like, I believe, the neoprene mat, as well as some of the different tokens, deluxified tokens, things like that. So just please note that this is a review of the game, but it does have the deluxe components here. But with that, the game, what the players are trying to do in this game is they're trying to achieve one of three victory conditions before the opponent does so. Those three victory conditions are either creating a chain of their color from one side to the other. You'll see there's different symbols and different colors. If you go from one side to the other, and we'll show you more about that, you will win the game if you do so before your opponent. The second way is if you are able to connect four galaxies underneath your color in a single connected chain of your colors. So for example, that over there will be two connected galaxies. This over here would be an unconnected galaxy, but if we can get another one and loop them all together, that would be four galaxies connected. And then the way to lose the game, effectively, is to have three black holes underneath your color. So you want galaxies under your color, you do not want black holes under your color. So I guess if you want to phrase it as a way of winning, then the third way of winning the game is to get your opponent to have three black holes under pieces of their color. That's what you're trying to do. That's all you're trying to do, past, of course, the placement, the rules, the strategy, all of that. But effectively, once again, you win if you connect two sides, any two sides. You win if you have four galaxies underneath your pieces, and you lose if you have three black holes underneath your color in a connected chain of color. Now, the way the game is going to start is with a setup, players going back and forth. The rulebook does have a few suggested setups for symmetric setups to start you off, but effectively, you're going to go back and forth placing pieces so that no two games are ever alike. You have a completely different, well, not completely different, you have a different setup every single time you play, and then players are going to start placing pieces on the board. When you place a piece on the board, you can place it anywhere on the galactic map, with one major restriction. You see, you can't actually put a galaxy or a black hole under any color, at least not without doing something else first. But what you can do is you can place that piece anywhere else on the board. So for example, you can take this and put this over here. You can take another piece and put it in a disconnected area over there. You do not have to have your pieces touching as you play, but then the problem is if you can't place your pieces or your opponent's pieces underneath those black holes or galaxies, how do you actually achieve those objectives? And the answer is you have to have something present first. Right now, this piece is on the board, that's a legal placement. The problem is on my next turn or on someone else's next turn, let's say on my next turn, I can go ahead and now that that piece is there, I can go ahead and put this down over here underneath it. Meaning, what you have to do in order to put a black hole or a galaxy on a piece is that when you put that piece on your board, it has to be already connected to the same piece of its color. So for example, over here, by placing this orange down, it's already touching orange, and so that adjacency has been created. And you can have further pieces out as well. You do not have to be any, for example, let's say over here, let's use this placement over here. If you wanted to place a galaxy down over here, orange over here can go ahead and place their piece like so. Because even though it's not directly adjacent, when they place this down, this piece still connects to a piece of orange, and so they're able to do that. Hopefully that makes sense. It is a drop unintuitive to actually do this, but it'll make sense especially as you start to play and as you start to figure out what you can and can't do as you play the game. To that end, I'm going to go ahead and take a few turns back and forth so you can get a sense of the feel and flow of the game. Starting off with this color over here, this blue, we're going to try to go ahead and protect ourselves and hurt our opponent. And to that, we're going to start this off with a piece over here. That gives our opponent a piece too. Maybe not that. Maybe this like over here. We're going to place this over here like so. That means I'm next to a galaxy. My opponent's next to a black hole. That puts them on the defensive, hopefully. Now you'll notice the pieces on this side always have two of your color, except for your single solo piece. And on this side, you always have two of the other color, again, except for your solo pieces. Basically, your own pieces are better suited for your color. So right now, orange over here is going to try to respond to that. Orange wants to try to, you know what? Orange might just go ahead and go over here like so. A straight line down over there, like so. Boom, they got their piece on there. Not a problem. Unfortunately, I helped them by putting it next to both, and I did help myself. And the question is, do I want to try to get orange targeted? You know what? I think I just might. I think what I'm going to try to do, maybe not. I think maybe I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, we're going to go ahead and target orange. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place this down like so, which is going to place an orange black hole on that circuit. So orange is on the defensive and the defensive right now as we speak. Orange is going to counter that by doing what orange does best, which is picking up this galaxy, because why in the world wouldn't we? And the answer is we would. We are doing so right now as we speak. So we're going to place that down like so. Now now blue can respond to that by trying to collect this galaxy over here. The problem is this spot over here is easy to cut out. So really if they're going to take this galaxy, they take it from this side, but then again, it's easy to cut out. So I think we're going to try to focus on being a bit more aggressive as we play. To that end, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place one of our pieces in such a way. We can't get this yet. What we can do is we can set up an adjacency. I don't want to help them. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to try to... go ahead and continue to connect things. So let's go ahead and let's put this like so. Let's start closing it off while connecting to a black hole on that side. So creating some nice patterns, some nice chains, getting some spread across the galaxy, stopping them over there. Yeah, Orange is going to go ahead and respond now. They can't really stop themselves from getting that, so they really need to try to aggressively block themselves from getting any sort of cutoff over there. And to that end, I think what we're going to do, this is actually a tricky situation. It's not looking good for Orange. Orange is a little bit pickled in over there. Oh my gosh, this is tricky. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to place this like so, trying to push it to the fact that we can get our hands on that color first. Although maybe not there. You know, we'll go with it. We'll just stick with it because it's a sample game anyway. Basically, we're trying to make sure that blue gets the black hole before us, because if we get this one, we're in trouble. Now, blue over here is going to respond by trying to connect that in, which honestly just makes sense. So they're going to go ahead and go here like so, which would work. I think this is actually not looking good for Orange over here. Not looking great for Orange at all. Right about now, I think Orange is probably going to lose. I don't see an easy way out of this. Yeah, I mean, we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and connect this over here and place that like so. And then Blue's going to go ahead and respond by simply trying to get our orange black hole over here. And there you go. You already have... Oh, we're not actually done yet. We didn't actually lose yet. Oh, interesting. That is an interesting twist of events where I didn't actually follow exactly where we were yet. So right about now, could I do anything about that? I should have responded differently, trying to threaten this. Last week should have been there. Either way, that's the general sense of the game. You're going back and forth trying to, again, either trap your opponent onto 3 black holes, or alternatively trying to collect 4 galaxies, or alternatively trying to get from one side to the other. You'll notice over here that Orange is not that far from actually being able to touch both sides of the board right here. They already have this, this degree of touch over here. They just need to get one more. If they pop this down over here like so, and then this down over here like so, you'll see they have an unbroken chain from side to side, as well as 3 galaxies while they're at it. Obviously, I just gave them like 3 plays in a row, so take that with a grain of salt, that it's not as easy as all that, but it is very easy to set yourself up with different varieties of threats to try to figure out how to get from one side to the other, or to get the other 2 victory conditions, 3 black holes as a loss, or 4 galaxies as a win. And that is basically how you play Orion Duel. It's a 2-player abstract game where you go back and forth trying to achieve one of the 3 victory conditions before your opponent. There's some tie-breaking rules in play, but we won't get into those. Instead, we'll go ahead and jump to the review, starting off with ease of play. Rulebook is incredibly short over here. So all it is, you got a little pamphlet, nothing much to it. I do find that the rulebook is not always as immediately clear on some of the examples given. You really have to look at the examples. The terminology on its own doesn't really do it as much. And again, it's a drop unintuitive, that nature of having to place a piece down first and then place a piece following it adjacency wise. So I understand why it's a little complicated, but for a 2-player pamphlet, I'd say that it is an easy enough game to understand with a drop of complexity thrown in. Past that, games run anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes tops, I'd say. It's a quick moving game. Usually someone's going to win, and then you're going to rinse and reset and continue that tactical back and forth as you try to figure out how to outplay your opponent in this game. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking. Starting off with what I like, which is I really like the 3-way to score system. This is something I've seen in many games that I really tend to enjoy when games do it. When a game says, hey, by the way, you can win this way, but you can also win this way, and you can win that way. There are many games that do this so well, that give you that multiple things to consider. You're not purely competing in one arena, you're competing in multiple different arenas, and you have to be mindful of all of them. It also tends to mean that if you're doing poorly in one, you can often counter or push or try to get yourself out of it by focusing on applying pressure on another for your opponent. And so I really like that system in general. And I like it very much in Orion's Duel. I think they did a great job of giving you 3 things that are intermingled, that it's natural to be pushing towards one while also achieving the other. It's natural to be spreading across the galaxy, picking out those galaxies, while really having an eye on the fact that, yes, your opponent can stop you at a moment's notice, but you're not actually going for galaxies. They're just the foil to cover up what you're doing. In reality, you're trying to connect 2 different sides of the map, or alternatively put your opponent on the defensive, because before they know it, they already have 2 galaxies and they have to be worried about a 3rd. So I really like that system in play, and I like how fast and streamlined and punchy this game is for what's going on. It gives you a great game in anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes, as far as just giving you a lot of tactical back and forth, a lot of double trap plays. You have that sense of double trapping in the game as you go through it, and you have the variable setup, which keeps the game interesting as well. Again, it doesn't feel like you're playing a different game, but it does mean you can't get trapped into, this opening and that response and that counter. No, the board setup and how the black holes are arranged, you can go for interesting setups. So you try to put black holes on one side of the map and galaxies on the other. To a degree, there's some small restrictions as far as how you place things too close to each other, but that's basically it. But the variable setup will give you that room to breathe, that room to experiment, and I really appreciate just how quick playing and satisfying Orion Duel is for what it does. It's It's a satisfying, thinky puzzle. It is very back and forth. It is very in each other's heads and trying to stop each other and trying to think through how you can outplay your opponent. As far as what I don't like in the game, at the end of the day, as an abstract game, it is victim to the same thing that most abstract games are victim to, which is repetitiveness of the experience. This game has that. It has a degree of repetitiveness to the experience just by nature of it being an abstract with, like, sure, the variable setup, but the variable setup doesn't really change the way you approach the game mentally. It just slightly shifts up where things are so that there's no remembered plays of what's optimal or not. But this very much is a one-trick pony doing one specific thing, which is not a bad thing. Again, most abstracts in this vein are going to fall into that category, and Orion Duel is no different in that sense. But if you are not a fan of abstracts because of that aspect, that's certainly a factor here. For me, it always comes down to how good the experience is and versus how much it gives from that experience. I love trying new abstracts, but I'd say most of them I like trying and then not coming back to, and it has to really be a very thinky, rewarding experience for me to come back to it. So as much as I do like Orion's Duel, it has that thing that is the reason why I have fewer abstracts in my collections. As far as not collections. As far as what I can see others not liking, as an abstract, players who know the game are at a large advantage to players who don't know the game. If you've played the game 6 times and someone else has played the game never, you will probably stomp them. That's just the way these games work. They are very much focused on that high level of skill and low luck. I mean, there's no luck in this game. There's no luck at all. It's pure skill. It's pure tactical maneuvering. If you've seen those patterns because you've played the game, if you understand how to play certain pieces in ways that will help and reward you while getting in the way of your opponent, it has that aspect that abstracts tend to have. So if you don't like that, if you're not good at playing with players who can compensate, and by compensate I mean effectively, if I know the game, I have to hold back the first few times I play it to get people up and running, which is true to an extent of any game, but I do find that games with a high level of skill and a low level of luck tend to be more victim to that aspect. As far as final thoughts on Orion Duel, and I always want to say Orion's Duel, by the way. Every single time I want to say Orion's Duel. Technically it's Orion Duel First Contact, if I'm being precise. But either way, as far as Orion Duel, I never heard this game before I played it, which is rare for me. I tend to know a lot about the games that are out there, and I sat down at Gen Con and I tabled this one, never heard of it, was not on my radar at all, sat down, played it, and was very impressed by it. It was a game that I felt I had control of what was happening, and then I got stomped at the end of it by someone who did know the game and had played it and knew what was going on. I mean that in a good way. It was tempting, it was enticing, it was like I got a taste of what can happen in this game and the back and forth that can ensue and the way to try to achieve my own victory, while also the fact that at the end of the day, the other person knew how to block me and get in the way and foil me. And so even though it looked like I was getting control, the game ended with a double trap and just having me ripped apart. And then I played it again. And then I played it again, and I played it again, and I played it again. I'm really enjoying what this game does. I meant it when I said that abstracts tend to be repetitive experiences, and as such, they don't last in my collection for long. I am someone who likes mixing things up, and I like new things, and I like, that new player power, and that new aspect, and those new scenario goals. I like being given a puzzle and being given different ways to solve or approach that puzzle. But if an abstract is good enough, there are games that are in my collection. There are abstract puzzles that are in my collection that I very much enjoy, and Orion Duel is being added to that list. This game is I was charmed from my first play, and I've been continuously charmed as I play through it more and more. To me, it's a 4 out of 5. I really enjoy it. I could see that rating going up. I'm intrigued how it holds up over not just 5 to 10 plays, but how it holds up over 15, 20 plays, a year, 2 years. I am curious where this one goes, but I'm very much enjoying just how simple, elegant, and tactically rewarding it can be. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, I highly recommend Tsar. Tsar is one of the few games, again, one of the few abstracts left in my collection. It is a game from the GIF series of games, and my favorite one. And one of the reasons it's my favorite one is because it has that same mechanic that Orion Duel has, the sense that you have 3 different win conditions in the game, or is it 2 or 3? It's 3 different... I think it's 3 different win conditions in the game as you go through Tsar, as far as different things you're trying to achieve in order to actually win, to take out your opponent, to collect certain pieces, or to basically eliminate them entirely. There are different ways to win, and that gives you an entirely different puzzle as far as, so you're trying to eliminate different types of pieces. And so it forces you to be able, it gives you that opportunity to be able to engage with the game while pretending you're trying to go for something, while also pivoting or adjusting or just obfuscating what you're actually going for, similar to Orion Duel. And then if you're looking for a game that gives you a very similar feel to the placement of this one, another abstract adjacent, I'd say Land vs. Sea from Good Games Publishing will give you a very similar feel to the way you're trying to place pieces onto the board, trying to find that perfect placement and puzzle as you ultimately create these areas of land, these areas of sea, and you try to enclose each other, both players playing as land versus sea, although there also are very interesting 3 and 4 player modes in that game as well. In any case, then until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.